James, how are we doing, man?
Most days, for I guess lack of a better term, I guess I'm okay.
Lack of a better term.
I,
Yeah,
I like to say I'm good, and a lot of days I am, but I've got my days, my moments.
days and your moments. Well, before we start, I just want to say thanks for spending some time out and doing this, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh,
You
not a
know,
problem.
it means a lot because we appreciate the support and the love on the podcast, man. We love it when you're interacting with us, and for me to do this with you on the side of what we do, just keeping up with everything that's going on, to have this conversation with you, I respect everybody so much that I have this conversation with because it's not easy, you
Oh
know.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but your life took a turn that I didn't. Did you expect? Your life took a turn.
No, no, that was not how I expected that Monday to go.
Well, you lost your wife, James. Is who you lost, right?
hmm
How long ago was this?
Uh, just over 6 months now.
Just over 6 months. And of course, as always, my condolences for losing your wife, James. I just I want you to just tell me a little about, if you can, just share what happened, man. Because from what I gathered, it wasn't the Monday you expected.
No, no, we'd gone to working at home for the company and things like that, and it was a case of she got up, went to go lay down on the couch, take a quick little nap or get some rest or whatever at lunch like she normally does, and I'm just sitting there talking on the phone, talking to customers and things like that, and I heard her snoring over there and things like that, um, uh, off and on and normal. Um, and then her alarm, I heard her kind of, I just kind of, just make normal noise when you're sleeping. And her alarm went off, and I was in the middle of a call, and she didn't get up and kept going. Uh, put my customer on hold and went over there and shook her to wake her up, and she was gone. Um, so it was a case of uh, I don't disconnect on customers. That one I did. I'm like, look, I sorry, click. Logged out of the system, call 911, um, see if they could resuscitate her, and unfortunately they couldn't.
But and I got like 1,000 thoughts, and I fight back my tears so much during these because I started this whole series was to talk about people who've lost someone, and I was, and like my mom, she she passed away for the most part. We say at home because they could never keep her heart up and going,
hmm
even when they got to the hospital. So like things like that. I mean, we feel that happened for a reason, but James, like, I got 1,000 feelings that are running and thoughts that are going through my head right now of what you may have been experiencing during that. I mean, how do you get
Um,
through?
it was rough. Um, she'd been my best friend for the last 8 years. Dating for one and married for seven, and um, next month would have been our 8th year anniversary. Um, it was a case of just we'd kind of been everywhere together the last 7 years. I wouldn't have even honestly been in New Mexico, Pete, without her, because she pushed me to be better. She pushed me to go for the trainer job that got me to New Mexico and things like that. And then uh just a lot of things. So yeah, I mean, you know how crazy I am. She she settled me down, things like that, and I was perfectly happy being here, just talking to customers on the phone, things like that. But she pushed me to try for different things, and so that's where moving to New Mexico came in, and things like that. Because she'd been around the world. I mean, she'd been different places, so moving around didn't bother her. Me, born and raised in Texas, I spent 20 something, 30 something years in Texas before I ever moved out of it. So,
Hmm.
um, but it was just waking up those first few days after her not being there. I went to Sonic. 3 days afterwards, came back and opened up the door without thinking. Said, "Babe, I'm home," and nobody to answer.
Did did you get anything? I mean, if you're willing to share, did they tell you anything of what happened? I mean,
Um, Not really, no. And to be honest, I didn't ask because I knew, as far as just regular medical stuff that had been going on and just different things she had going on that she'd been dealing with the last few years, but going to the doctor regular things like that. And she was good and things like that. But I didn't really ask. I didn't really push for anything because, to be honest, at the end of the day, it didn't change the outcome. Um, so it was a case of I had an idea that not necessarily her regular doctor was fine, but sometimes specialists that she might have to visit, I had an idea that maybe they didn't do what all they should have or could have done to check things out. But at the end of the day, the outcome didn't change. Um, and she and I, she and I firmly believe, I know where she's at, and she and I firmly believe that, when it's your time, and whatever I want to do to change things doesn't change things. As much power and control as I think I have over situations in my life, at the end of the day, when it's time, it's time. Um, and so I've never questioned that, but afterwards it was a little harder at first, dealing with things because, like I said, the last 7 years she's been by my side every day. You know,
I well, I'll tell you one thing, James. It takes a lot, because you're right. I mean, you're right. At the end of the day, no matter what you would have done, said, attempted to search for, she was still going to be resting at the end of the day. At the end of the day, she was still going to be resting, and it wasn't going to change the outcome. Um, and I drastically respect that decision that you made. It takes a lot to do that decision of not pursuing of what happened. But James, I mean, with her gone now, I mean, we all know. I mean, our lives change when somebody leaves. But one thing I want to ask you, like perspective wise, I mean, we've had a lot. Your wife passing 6 months ago. You may have heard of other people passing, especially like due to COVID, things like that. I don't know if anybody has passed since your wife's passed, but just in all, when you hear of somebody passing, has your outlook changed at all on how you look at death overall?
um, in some ways, I guess yes. Maybe not the death part. After I moved here, um, I got here shortly after we had the memorial and things like that, and then lost my stepdad at the end of September. So um, I had some feelings on last year. Um, but death, no, death's just part of it, I guess. The older we get, the less time we have, things like that. I've known that ever since I was a kid. Um, but it's one of those cases where, uh, with Shawan, I thought we had more time than we did. But I'm thankful for the time we did have. And so I guess it hasn't changed my perspective on death so much as living.
Living.
Um, I know at the end of the day, we've all got a day that we are born. Um, we all have that end date, but it's kind of, what do we do with the dash in the middle that matters? You know, so it's a case of death is one thing I can't beat. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, what am I going to do with the time I've got in between? And so it makes me, when I'm out with mom or um, talking to family or friends or whatever, it's one of those cases where you hold when you hug somebody, you hold them a little tighter. You spend a little more time with them. You don't take things for granted as easy. You don't get as mad as easy when it comes to family, friends, things like that. And you just enjoy the time you have.
Right. It's almost like it's almost like everything is so precious. Like everything, whether it be time, which time, even time becomes so much more precious, but just like the attendance of somebody doing things, it's like all that becomes so much more precious whenever we do lose someone. Um she had I think I remember you telling me she had a daughter, is that right?
Yeah, yeah,
She
yep.
did, you have a stepdaughter? Okay. Um well, yeah, that's just I mean it took me by surprise when I seen it, you know. Moving forward, I really want to ask this question because I just, like I said, I've said this before on my podcast and I've said it before on other individual conversations, but like, and I think my answer will always change just because it just depends on how I feel. But if she was right next to you, what would you tell her?
Um, just that I love her, and thank you for being who she was. Thank you for putting up with me. Because I'm not always that easy to put up with. Uh, you've seen me at work.
Oh yeah.
Um, one thing that one good memory. I focus on the good memories. She and I didn't argue. And it was we were both. It was one of those cases. I was raised, for better or for worse, things like that, and she believed the same way. So um, was I boneheaded sometimes? Yeah. Did I say something stupid at times? Yeah. You've heard me. You've heard me on the phone with customers. So
I have.
uh, but I focus on the good times we had because in 7 years there were a lot of good times. 8 years dating and married, there were a lot of good times, and I focus on those. Uh, one thing we would honestly always laugh at was when we ran into you that one night, and you and I were talking about bologna and cheese of all things. Uh, because that's conversations that I would have at the house. So she knew how crazy I was. Um, so it's focusing on the good things, and it's not taking things for granted when you're with other people. Enjoy those moments. So when I see folks, when they're out of the restaurant or whatever. Well, not right now because I do take out a whole lot because I'm not eating anywhere.
Right.
Uh, but before when you'd see folks out on their phones at dinner or things like that, it's you know put it away. Enjoy the company you've got while it's there.
Yeah, it's something like I said, all of us that have lost somebody unexpectedly and then just lost somebody, we really hold on that becomes so much more precious to us, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Uh, do you speak much to her? Have you speak much to her daughter at all still?
Oh yeah, yeah. She and I are good. She and I talk every week and everything. So
Uh, and you're back in Texas now. Is that where
yeah,
you're at?
yeah.
Back in Texas. What, if you're willing to share, what city in Texas?
I'm in Waco.
Oh, you're up in Waco.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I
yeah.
see.
Because my mom's, I'm kind of right here. I'm near Shawan's mom. I'm near my mom. So near family that's close. On Sundays I go to the church where I used to be youth pastor when Shawan and I met and stuff, and where we actually got married and everything. So I'm kind of here around family.
That's good. We need them, especially when things like this happen. You know, I was the only one at a well, me, my son, and my significant. We were the only ones that weren't able to see my mom while technically while they would work on her, and then she'd still be alive, but then her heart would go down. So they had time to like call family, at home. And well, I
Hmm.
live 4 hours away from Pecos, and I was the only one. Me, my son, and my lady were the only ones that didn't get to, I guess, hold her, go and say goodbye. And they called me and asked me too. They called me and asked me, "We're working on her. We don't know. Like, do we keep working on her?" And I was like, "Well, things. I mean, can't do that. I'm
Yeah,
away."
it's you can't ever ask yourself what if. Um, you know, what if I'd done this? What if I'd done that? Um, and it doesn't make. I'm sure it doesn't make it any easier if you know it's coming or if it's sudden. Um, it's. I won't say time heals it. Um, I think you just learn to manage it over time better.
Yeah, the knife gets more dull through time, is what it is. I mean, one thing that keeps coming back to my mind as I have this conversation, James, is just that day and what is it that you had to go through. You know, I pray to myself and I pray to my God that I go before my significant and before my son because I don't. I mean, I was a mama's boy,
Hmm.
and that was the woman that had my back no matter what, and that's the heartache that I suffered, you know. And I know my dad has an expiration date also, senior part one. He's gonna have an expiration date too, but I'm not around, the odds of it happening with me right there, it's kind of slim because I'm not in the same town,
Right.
But what just going back to what you had to go through, um, you said you have some rough ones, right?
Yeah.
I'm I'm
Yeah.
gonna I'm gonna assume and say you don't have some. I'm gonna say you have a little bit more than some, just because it it puts a real big tear in my eye and in my thought of what it is that you went through. I mean, something wasn't right, and you went and looked to see what wasn't right, and something really, really wasn't right. And you're getting through it a lot better than I would because I'm just talking about what you're going through, and it hurts me for you. How do you do it, man?
Um, you know, day by day, um, sometimes minute by minute, hour by hour. Um, I've got, uh, I look at it that, she went to sleep and it was peaceful. And I'd much rather it be that way than, um, her suffer or her be in pain and things like that. As far as me getting by, um, you know, I've I've got a couple close friends that I um, talk to. That whenever I'm feeling down, they seem to be there. I pray a lot. I talk to God. I go to church, and it helps. Um, and just remembering the good things and just knowing that she wouldn't want me to give up. It's easy to sit back and say, I got no reason to go on living, but the fact is I do. I've got I've got my kiddo, and she needs me to keep on being me and checking in on her and things like that. I've got my mom, my mother-in-law, family, friends. I've got people to be there for. Um, but at the end of the day, I've still got to maintain and take care of myself too. So there might be times when I'm home and quiet and not doing anything other than sitting here or staring at the TV. Um, there's other times when I'm, helping up family and friends and doing what needs to be done, or me cutting up on Facebook sometimes. But there's days when I might not even look at Facebook all day long because I don't really feel like socializing. Um, so it's just it's a fine line. I keep to myself sometimes, but I can't let myself stay alone too long because I don't want to get depressed. And so I talk to friends, I talk to family, and I like I said, I pray a lot, I read my Bible, I talk to God, and you know, um, talking about her, thinking about the good things. That's a big part of what helps me.
I love it. I love it. You've you know that there's a reason for you to be here, and you're here for that reason. And it's really, really amazing to hear. Um I just want to say, may she rest easy. My heart goes out to you, her family, her daughter, um, and everyone that knew her. She's a real nice lady. She was real nice, especially to put up with you. You know, um, we had that,
This is
and
true.
that's one time that I always talk about my significant other was that time we hung out in the evening, and maybe we had a little bit too many, but yeah, it was a good time.
Pete, the bad thing was I hadn't had any that night. That was just me normal.
um, I definitely had one too many, so yes. And you're right. It was. I'm glad I'm glad to hear the approach that you take it, because a lot of people they struggle to take the approach that you take on that healing process. And I mean, I'd be the one to admit it, because it's truly hard, and I just want to
I've
say,
it's one of those things. I didn't mean to cut you off.
go ahead.
It's one of those things that like anybody else. I mean, we've all experienced passings. I've lost uncles and aunts, but I lost my dad back when I was just out of high school. Almost. I was in college and things like that, and so I lost him. I'd lost my grandparents on my mom's side before then. Lost my dad's grandpa or my dad's dad before then, so I I'd been through with dad, I'd been through the act of being mad and being bitter and spending years being upset. Um, wish to one I didn't want to do that again. Um, it took me a long time to begin to heal after dad. Um, and I think it's because, I was so bitter. I was there for, mom and my sister and things like that, but I think it's because I was bitter. Um, could I have been bitter and upset this time? Yeah, but I didn't want to do that, and focusing on the good things and my faith and things like that honestly was a lot, I hate to say easier, but easier than being bitter because I'd been there and like I said, it took me years to heal. So um, through the grace of God, I've been handling these 6 months as well as I think anybody could expect.
You're right, and I can see it. I really can. Um, I love it. I love it. I know those words are really gonna help people. And at the end of the day, you used you didn't want to go back to that place you were at when your father passed, and that's one thing that I'm taking from this. I know that when my dad passes, I'm not gonna feel the way that I felt when my mom passed because I've gone through it. I know it's coming. That's one thing that I took out of mom passing was that it's going to happen. It's going to happen at any time. So it's a blessing to hear once again on how you're healing, and I just hope you continue to heal and have more of the better days than the bad days.
Yeah, I mean, have I been angry? Yeah. Have I
Yeah.
been sad? Yeah. Have I had been happy? Yeah. Have I had all those emotions in the span of the same day or the same hour? Yeah. But it's just I don't force the emotions. They come as they come, but I don't dwell in them, if that makes sense. I don't stay angry to the point that I want to start getting bitter. I don't stay sad to the point that I start getting bitter because I don't want to do that. So when I find myself mad or sad, I let myself do that for a while, but then I start focusing again on the good things because I want to be in that better place to where I can, be happy, function, things like that.
Man, like I said a while ago, I definitely um I definitely see you in a better place than I would have expected.